Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is true. And this was a verb suggested by the viewer, Luis. Luis, thank you so much for this suggestion. And I really do welcome others' input on verbs they'd like to see discussed in future videos. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this word gets used as a verb. Some people might be tuning in and thinking, wait a second, this can be a verb? But yes, it can. So many times when you hear true used as a verb, someone is describing the process of bringing some type of object, a wheel, or maybe something other construction-related item into the exact shape, the alignment, or the position that is needed or required. So this is the primary definition of this verb, and it can be a little complex to understand. So as I was thinking about it, I thought about a house that is in my town. It is in the process of having a number of renovations. And in fact, it was so old, there was a kind of a slight tilt to it. So part of the construction, they're lifting it off the foundation and bringing it into alignment. So we could say they're truing the house. So they want it in a straighter position, one that is not leaning and could cause other kinds of trouble or problems. For now, you should know that true is a regular verb. If you want to make the progressive form of this verb, you're going to drop the E on the end and add ing. This is a slightly irregular spelling pattern. It doesn't always follow a lot of our other rules, but that forms truing. Okay. If you want to make the past tense or the participle forms of our verb, all you need to do is add the letter D. Our base verb, true, ends with a long U vowel sound. And vowel sounds are always voiced sounds in English. So what this means is that our ed ending here is just going to make a D sound, and I'm not going to add an extra syllable as I say it. So the past tense and the participle forms of the verb should sound like this. Trued, trued. Now, I do want to introduce a phrasal verb you might encounter. This phrasal verb, true up, can have a couple different meanings. And so we'll discuss them and do a couple example sentences as well. The first way true up gets used is connected to one of my former fields. So before I was a teacher, I worked with U.S. taxation laws and accounting and law. And so we would actually use this quite often. So when true up gets used in sort of an accounting or finance environment, what it means is to create a financial entry to adjust for the difference in an actual expenditure compared to an amount that had been budgeted. So you might see this with something called accrual accounting. And this is not going to turn into a video all about accounting, I promise. But again, if that's your field, you might start to recognize, that's something I've discussed or I've seen before. So let's look at an example of how you might hear it used. After filing our tax returns, we'll true up for the difference between what was accrued in the prior year's provision and the actual amount of the returns. So many companies will do this. They kind of record estimated liabilities, what they think they're going to have to pay in taxes. Then later, at a later date, they do their tax returns, they calculate the tax liability that is owed, and then that adjustment is made, that financial entry. A second way to use true up ties back to our first definition. So we're going back to construction and the definition of bringing some object into the exact shape, alignment, or position that is required. An example of this phrasal verb in a sentence could be, the bike mechanic trued up the rear wheel as part of the repair process. And again, if you work with or do a lot of bicycling, you might encounter this or hear people mention it. So different things, right, can kind of impact maybe the stress or pressure that's on the spokes of the bike. It could cause the tire and wheel to lean a bit. Then it could rub up against brakes or something else, right? So we have to have that thing in kind of perfect alignment or perfect position in order for it to work. And that's what that sentence is describing here. So they're making adjustments so that the back wheel on the bicycle will operate correctly or properly. Now, usually at this point in the videos, I say, let's practice some verb tenses. And I looked for lots and lots of examples of this verb being used in different ways. And really, there just aren't very many. So we're going to skip our verb tense practice today and instead spend a few minutes talking about some words that are related to our verb true. And as you probably expected, the first word we're going to talk about is the adjective form of this word. The adjective true has the exact same spelling and the exact same pronunciation. This adjective can also be used in a number of ways. One way we use the adjective true is to describe something that is in accordance with fact or reality. An example of this, maybe you've heard someone ask you the question, is that a true story, right? You want to know the information that's being shared. Are these facts? Did these things really happen? Another way true gets used can mean genuine. So again, you might be thinking here real. An example of this in a sentence might be, this piece of furniture is from a true craftsman. So maybe someone who has studied and worked in this field, not someone who's just doing this for fun or a hobby. This person really knows their stuff. A third way we use the adjective true can mean accurate or exact. An example of this, the bear is a true depiction of what it is like to work in a restaurant. So this is a really popular TV show here in the United States. It's recently won several awards, and I've actually heard this sentence used by different people who've watched it. I haven't watched the show, but for many people who have worked in professional kitchens, they feel like, oh, this really captures it. Okay? A fourth way true gets used can mean loyal or faithful. So I'm going to use one of my friends as an example here. My friend Kelly has been a true friend for over 20 years. Always very loyal. I can trust her. I can count on her to be there for me when I need to talk to someone or need help with some kind of problem. Another related word you might encounter is the adverb truly. This adverb also has a number of different meanings. So it can mean or describe something that is done in a truthful way. An example of this, he speaks truly. Right? So this is someone who's not lying, not telling you just what you want to hear. This person is going to say truthful things. A second way to use the adverb truly means genuinely or properly. An example of this, I'm not sure they truly understand the problem. So maybe you've had this experience with someone you work with or someone who's maybe in a different department. And you're trying to get assistance and they just think like, oh, this is not a problem. So they don't have a proper understanding of the problem. That's what that sentence is describing. A third way to use the adverb truly can be used to describe something to express sincerity or seriousness. An example of this. It's truly a privilege to connect with people learning English all over the world. I love when people share in the comments where they're studying English from or where they're currently living. It's a lot of fun. I love reading your example sentences, your questions. And so I hope you can hear the sincerity in my voice. It is truly a privilege. A fourth way to use the adverb truly means absolutely or completely. An example of this. That is a truly awful movie. Sorry, that is truly an awful movie. So I am really trying to make it very strongly worded there that I just think this is garbage. So notice I didn't name anything. Don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Let's talk about one more related word. And our last word today will be the noun truth. Right? This is the quality or state of something being true, or we could be describing something, talking about some statement, some piece of writing, which is true or in accordance with fact or reality. So I've got a couple examples of what you might encounter. So the truth of what happened will never be known. I've seen statements like this as I read various stories, reports, accounts, where, right, all of the people involved died. So there was no one living to explain, well, this happened and that, right? So here, the quality or state of being true, that information won't be known. Another example of how you'll hear this noun used. You must always tell the truth, right? Many times that's a lesson that's being conveyed to young children as they sort of grow and mature. Again, I want to say a special thank you to Louise for suggesting today's verb. I thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.